Before we begin today's investigative deep dive, a critical legal disclaimer for the cold trail crime community. This report is based on documented public records, federal transcripts, and verified court updates. Our mission is to analyze the investigative timeline of the Romeca Meeks-Blackmon case for educational purposes. We do not incite harassment. We follow the evidence. Under the law, all individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Now let us look at why the system is truly stalled. While the internet is distracted by jailhouse rumors about Holly's pregnancy, a much more dangerous game is being played in the federal courts. Many of you have asked, why has not Carlos Smith been arrested if the witnesses saw the chokehold? The answer is not just about a lack of evidence. It is about a federal conflict of interest. Remember, Carlos Smith was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison in February 2023 for a massive PPP fraud scheme. He was supposed to be under strict federal supervision. If the Chicago PD arrests him now for a state-level murder charge without bulletproof DNA, they risk interfering with an ongoing federal monitoring process. This is the legal tug-of-war that the mainstream media is too afraid to explain. If you want the real legal breakdown that others are missing, hit that subscribe button right now. We are on a mission to hit 1,000 investigators today. Let us reach it together. But the federal clock is ticking, and it's heading straight for May 7th. This is the date the judge has set for the production of discovery. This is not just a status update. It is the moment the state's attorney must put their cards on the table. We are talking about the digital handshake. Investigators are reportedly analyzing the ping data between Carlos's phone and the shooter's phone in the 48 hours leading up to the South Loop tragedy. If those phones were handshaking at a location where the weapon was allegedly stored, then the bystander defense is not just weak. It is a federal conspiracy. If you believe that no one is above the law, regardless of their federal status, please like this video for cold trail crime so we can push these impressions past the 10K mark tonight. The suspense is building around a specific piece of evidence, the car door forensics. Witnesses claimed Carlos used a car door to strike Romeca before the struggle began.
I was actually the one at the scene, so I was the one that was yelling out to arrest her, because everybody wasn't doing anything. I was actually the one who called the cops first. And I saw them when they were fighting in the beginning, and I was like, this is not right. He was slamming her with the door when she was standing in her door frame, not even close to the female on the other side. So she was literally standing on the other side of the road, and her baby daddy was literally slamming the door on her back. So she went back into her car, came back out. And then this was when the baby daddy walked towards the other baby mama. After this happened, he grabbed her by the waist. She tried to wiggle away from him. Her arm was like literally almost getting free with his arm around her neck this time, because he was holding her by the waist in the beginning and she wiggled out, After this happened, he had her in the, almost looking like a headlock to me on the side. And then the other baby mama stated, "I'm going to shoot you, bitch. Watch me shoot you, bitch." And he stated, she's going to go get her gun. She's going to go get her gun. Watch. And after this happened, she ran to the passenger side of her vehicle, grabbed her gun, went around. And when the woman, the mother, who slipped away from him for at least maybe a good second. As soon as she slipped away, she shot her. And she shot her in the face, on her side, and in her thigh.
Most people think about DNA on a gun, but the real smoking gun might be the latent prints and DNA transfer on the interior and exterior of that vehicle. If the Stroger Hospital medical records show blunt force trauma that matches the impact of that specific car door, then Carlos Smith moves from a witness to the primary physical aggressor. This is the forensic pincer that is closing in. Every time you share this video on your community tab, you are helping us bridge the gap. You saw our last video. That means the world wants to know the truth. We are digging into the 2016 identity theft records and the 2023 fraud transcripts to show you the pattern of a man who believes he can outmaneuver any agency. But the Chicago South Loop is not a federal spreadsheet. There are eyes everywhere. On May 7th, those eyes will be in the courtroom. Does a man who was already serving a federal sentence deserve the benefit of the doubt when a mother is taken from her child?
The morning that it happened, I seen the videos that were just heartbreaking. You know, I'm a mother. I have sisters. You know, I have been in situations where this could have been me, you know, in my younger years where, you know, females were after me about guys and guys were playing both sides, things like that. So, you know, I cried about it from the first day that I seen it, you know, and especially, you know, seeing her mother, her sisters. And what was the icing on the cake for me was when I seen her son at the funeral. And he kind of like, you know, like he just couldn't take it. And, you know, I'm just like, no, you know, I have children and my children love me. And, you know, it just brings chills to me. So I have been following this story since it first happened, the first day, the first morning. But also, you know, I've seen like different content creators' pages, but I was familiar with your page. That's what made me contact you. Because it was just like, you know, like I was so happy and excited the day when she was incarcerated. Like for real, on December the 3rd, I was just like, yes, you know, this was something like it crushed my heart to know that happened to that girl and her family and her son. So, you know, I was fully aware of who she is, who her family is, like, you know, the post. I've been following this story since day one. So when, you know, I knew I had to go for like a traffic like violation, missing court, I knew that I would end up where she was at. So I don't know. I just felt it. But I knew I was like maternity ward, medical, same thing.
The community says no. The record says no. And by the time we hit the June DNA reveal, the science will likely say no as well. Subscribe to Cold Trail Crime and click that notification bell. We are unmasking the untouchables, and we are not stopping until the trail ends at a cell door. For Romeca, for justice, and for the 1,000 of us who refuse to look away. But we have to look deeper into the supervised release violation that has become the elephant in the room for the Cook County State's attorney. At Cold Trail Crime, we have analyzed the federal sentencing guidelines for Carlos Smith's 2023 conviction, and here is the bombshell. If he was present at a crime scene involving a firearm while on federal supervised release, he is technically in violation of his federal contract regardless of whether he pulled the trigger. This is the hidden trap the defense is terrified of. On May 7th, we expect to hear if a federal detainer has been discussed behind closed doors. If the feds decide that his presence in the South Loop kill zone constitutes a violation of his 4-year fraud sentence, Carlos Smith could be taken into custody by U.S. Marshals before the Chicago PD even finishes their DNA report. If you want to see the moment the federal government finally pulls the plug on the untouchable narrative, hit that subscribe button for Cold Trail Crime right now. We are tracking the federal docket every single hour. Furthermore, we are investigating the ammunition trail. In many high-profile Chicago cases, the gun is just one piece of the puzzle. The real premeditation is found in the bullets. If the ammunition used in the South Loop shooting can be linked to a purchase made by a business associate from Carlos's 2016 identity theft circle, then we are not just looking at a domestic dispute. We are looking at an organized hit. This is where the alleged secret society theory gains its legal teeth. We are asking the question, did someone in that circle provide the kit for this mission? On May 7th, the ballistics report is expected to be a major point of contention. If the fingerprints on the unspent rounds in that magazine match anyone besides Holly Johnson, the net is going to widen in a way that will shock the city. Every time you share this video on your Facebook and Twitter, you are helping us reach those 1,000 impressions that trigger the YouTube mega push. We are looking at the acoustic evidence from the school's security system. Reports suggest that the audio captured a specific command given right before the shots were fired. If that voice belongs to a man, then the self-defense plea by the shooter is officially a fairy tale. It proves that the shooter was taking orders. As we move toward the June DNA reveal, the pressure is mounting on the principal and the accomplice. The Stroger Hospital records are the physical proof, but the federal records are the legal cage. Does a man who was already a guest of the federal government deserve a pass on a murder charge? The community says no. The records say no. And on May 7th, the discovery phase is going to make it very hard for the system to keep saying wait. Subscribe to Cold Trail Crime and click that notification bell. We are unmasking the architects, and we are not stopping until the trail ends at a cell door. For Romeca, for her son, and for the 1,000 of us who refuse to be silenced, beyond the federal entanglements, we have to scrutinize the evidentiary gap that has existed between the witness statements and the forensic data. A gap that is rapidly closing as the May 7th deadline approaches. At Cold Trail Crime, we have been looking into the reported coaching of witnesses that the defense has alleged, but the prosecution has a counter move that involves digital reconstruction. They are reportedly using 3D mapping of the South Loop crime, seen to align the ballistics with the exact physical positions of every individual present. If that reconstruction proves that Romeca was being held in a position that made it impossible for her to be an aggressor, then the entire self-defense theory provided by Quadaja Johnson is scientifically dismantled. It proves she wasn't shooting at a threat. She was shooting at a captive. If you want to see the moment these 3D maps are presented in open court, please hit that like button for Cold Trail Crime right now. We are pushing for that 1,000 subscriber milestone because the more digital eyes we have on this forensic reconstruction, the harder it is for the secret society to spin the narrative. We also have to address the encrypted communication factor. In many high-level fraud circles, like the ones Carlos Smith has navigated for a decade, standard text messaging is for amateurs. Investigators are reportedly looking into third-party encrypted apps platforms where messages disappear after they are read. But here is the catch. While the messages might vanish from the phone, the metadata, the record of when and where those messages were sent, stays on the server. If the metadata shows a flurry of encrypted activity between Carlos and an unknown third party in the 10 minutes leading up to the school drop-off, it suggests a go signal was given. This moves the case from a domestic dispute to a pre-coordinated strike. At Cold Trail Crime, we know that a man who can orchestrate $1 million tax fraud scheme knows how to use technology to hide his tracks. But the digital ghost always leaves a footprint, and on May 7th, we expect the state to start following those tracks. Every time you subscribe to Cold Trail Crime, you are telling the untouchables that their digital shields are failing. We are a community that understands that accountability is a forensic process, not a social media debate. We are watching the Stroger Hospital records as the final word on the physical restraint, but we are watching the federal parole office as the legal cage. If those records show that Romeca's injuries were sustained while she was being held by a man of Carlos's specific stature, then the chokehold is not just a witness account, it is a medical certainty. Share this investigation on your community tab and tell your followers that Cold Trail Crime is unmasking the legal loophole that has protected the architect for too long. We are tracking the bank records, the federal transcripts, and the digital handshakes that are finally becoming a roar. Does a man who allegedly used a woman as a shield while another woman pulled the trigger deserve to walk free while a son grows up without his mother? The community says no. The forensics say no. And on May 7th, we believe the discovery phase will finally say arrest him. Leave a comment below. Do you think the federal government will step in before the Chicago PD makes their move? We are reading every response. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay tuned to Cold Trail Crime. The trail is no longer cold. It is lead pipe certain. At Cold Trail Crime, we have been analyzing the potential involvement of an uncharged getaway driver or a secondary scout who may have been positioned on the opposite corner of the school. If this was a secret society hit, the coordination didn't end when the shots were fired. It continued through the cleanup phase. We are asking the hard questions. Who scrubbed the social media accounts within minutes of the shooting? Who moved the secondary vehicle that witnesses saw idling near the South Loop school entrance? If the prosecution introduces license plate recognition, LPR, data on May 7th that shows a vehicle registered to one of Carlos Smith's 2016 identity theft associates was circling the block, then the random encounter defense is legally dead. If you want to see the moment the scouts are unmasked in open court, hit that subscribe button for Cold Trail Crime right now. We are the only ones tracking the peripheral players in this 8-person plot. Furthermore, we are investigating the insurance and asset angle. In many of Carlos Smith's previous federal fraud cases, the motive was always a high-stakes payout. At Cold Trail Crime, we are looking into whether there were life insurance policies or shared real estate assets that would have reverted solely to the surviving parties in the event of Romeca's accidental passing. If the state has subpoenaed financial records that show a change in beneficiaries or a rush to liquidate assets in the weeks leading up to September 8, then we are not just looking at a crime of passion. We are looking at a financial execution. This is where the 2023 wire fraud conviction and the current murder investigation collide. A man who can steal $500,000 from the government is a man who understands the value of a loss. Every time you share this video on your community tab, you are helping us break the digital seal. We are now looking into the acoustic forensics from the school's ShotSpotter technology. Reports suggest that the audio captured more than just the 3 rounds. It captured the shouting and commands given in the 60 seconds leading up to the trigger pull. If that audio confirms that a male voice was giving instructions to get it or finish it, then the self-defense plea for Holly Johnson becomes a confession of conspiracy. It proves she wasn't a victim in fear. She was an instrument under orders. As we move toward the June DNA reveal, the walls are closing in on the architects and the instruments alike. The Stroger Hospital records provide the physical evidence, but the acoustic and financial records provide the intent. Does a man who allegedly used a fist bump to seal a murder deserve to stay in the South Loop while a young son visits a grave? The community says no. The records say no. And on May 7th, the discovery phase is going to make it impossible for the system to ignore the common design. Subscribe to Cold Trail Crime and click that notification bell. We are unmasking the contractors of chaos, and we are not stopping until every hand involved is in a pair of steel cuffs. For Romeca, for her son, and for the truth that can no longer be bought.